One of the things I see happening in the data center market, specifically in the colocation market, is I see it being treated both by the people who own and operate colos and the people investing in them. They treat it very much as a real estate business. And my concern about that is that it really isn't a real estate business. If you look at what's happening with technology, if you look at the compression of technology in terms of density, and what the cloud guys are doing, the way the cloud guys build the data center is fundamentally different to the way the colo guys are building. And I think what needs to happen, if there is going to be a category called colo data centers in the future, they need to adapt to be able to serve all areas of the market, not just the enterprise guys that are taking legacy equipment and moving it into colo sites, but I think they need to also address the needs of the cloud providers and look at the data center in a fundamentally different way, otherwise they're going to be in trouble. You know, to the question of whether we'll see more or fewer colos in the future, I think that's a really difficult question to answer, because if you look at the big colo providers that have 40, 50, 60 sites, and you look at the total capacity across those sites, most of them are absolutely eclipsed in the total capacity by just one or two of these large cloud operator data centers. So if you look, Microsoft Chicago's data center, 300 plus megawatts, a single site, 300 megawatts, and they have multiple of these sites all over the world. They completely eclipse in terms of capacity, the capacity that colos have today. So whether there are going to be more or less in terms of absolute numbers is difficult to say. I think what you will see is in the true cloud operators, the big internet scale cloud guys, you'll see more of those, but they will continue to get bigger and bigger. I think the play on the colo side, there might be more in terms of numbers, but they may be smaller and more defined to secondary markets, as opposed to just flooding the primary markets, the Londons, the Frankfurts, the Parises, the Amsterdams today. I think you'll see smaller plays in some of the secondary markets. So it depends how you measure it. Is it total number of sites? Is it total capacity? I think total capacity will increase. As for the number, we'll have to wait and see. I think some of the tactics that the colo players of today are going to need to look at in order to survive, the two primary ones. They need to look at their business model. Today their business model is primarily built around real estate, around selling square feet. Really what they're selling is capacity. They're selling kilowatts of capacity. And they need to think about that both from a cost perspective and from a revenue perspective. I would also challenge the colos to start looking at more of a partnership type model, particularly with some of the cloud players, and rather than charging for a unit of capacity, maybe doing things like a revenue share, which as the cloud player starts to scale and grow inside the colo player's capacity, they can share some of the upside, as opposed to being continually driven down by their customers from a cost perspective. So business model is one aspect. I think the second very important aspect for them is the technical design. Tier 3 certified enterprise grade colo data center, which is 90%, 99% of what's built out there today, is not going to satisfy the market demand in the future. They're going to need to think flexibly. They're going to need to be able to build multi-tier sites. They're going to need to be able to provide cloud scale, cloud cost space within the same facility as the traditional tier 3.